Okay, so welcome back to Thinking Kingdom Thoughts. I'm here with one of my best friends, Shannon, and she has a wonderful miracle to share. And this is the beginning of the season. We've had one other show last week on that, and so you'll be hearing a lot of good miracles coming out from this. I would like to welcome Shannon. And Shannon, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, since I've been on here before, I don't know what I could say.
You're the elder's wife.
I'm an elder's wife. I'm living a permanent Sukkot life.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
Yeah, our Sukkot trip this year should be that we get to rent a bed and breakfast instead of camping.
Let me explain that to you. She had a house fire April 28th.
No,
Or March 28th.
Yeah.
And so now she's doing the tent living, and so that's her permanent Sukkot living for right now.
Oh,
And she's laughing and happy about it, guys. So we can
Well,
turn
I'm
any
gonna laugh when I
situation.
cry.
Oh, now listen, you know you can always stay here again. Seriously,
No,
we
we're fine,
loved
we're
having
fine.
them here. And you're a retired teacher, mom,
Yeah.
grandma.
Grandma.
Are you a great grandma yet? No,
No.
my sister
No,
is,
the
and I
oldest
can't believe
is,
it.
The oldest grandchild is now 15. She turned 15 the end of March.
Yeah, so
And
you don't
she's
need
not
to be,
old enough.
Yeah, you don't
No.
need to be a great grandma yet.
No.
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 So, would
so-
you lead us out in prayer then?
Okay.
Get covered here.
Father God, thank you for this day. Thank you for your hand that moves in our lives. Thank you for walking beside us and allowing us to walk beside you and hold your hand. You're such a wonderful, wonderful Father and a wonderful, wonderful presence in our lives. Help us to glorify you in everything that we do, say, and move in. Guide your words from our mouths today, and may it bless those who see and hear it. In the name of Yeshua. Amen.
Amen. Yep. I like those friendship prayers where we can just go right in there because we're comfortable with him, and that's from praying a lot. That makes us comfortable doing that. When you think of the kingdom, what comes to mind for you?
Peace and being in his presence. That's all I want to do. I just, please come back. Please come back.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Right.
Please.
Yeah. I want to make sure it's recording. And so, what one scripture has impacted you the most?
Probably my life verse, I'm sure I've said it before, is Philippians 4:13.
Yeah. So
I
that's
can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And I know that's pulled out of context, but the context is still doing his will, doing his work, doing his Torah, doing everything that we have to do just to live life for him.
Yeah. Now, the show's verse, what started the show to begin with was the Philippians 4:8, which is to whatever is noble, right, pure, lovely, think on these things, And so each Bible kind of describes it a little different, I think.
Goes back to Torah, goes back to how you live your life every day. That it's not too hard to do.
Yeah.
And his Spirit helps you.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And and he sees that. He sees that, and he sees our heart when we're in it too,
Yeah.
and not just
And screaming for help.
yeah, right. For
I feel
sure.
like I've done that a lot in my life.
So, what experience drew you close to Yah that led you to being saved and walking it out?
I don't know that I have one experience. I've been a Christian for more than 50 years.
Mm-hmm.
I got saved when I was 6 years old, 7 years old in a VBS, Vacation Bible School, nap time.
Wow, caught you during nap time, huh?
whatever they had taught that morning had stuck with me, and I remember laying on the cot and saying, asking Yeshua, Jesus in my heart on that cot.
And that was at 6.
6 or 7 years old, yeah.
Isn't that precious?
Yeah.
Vacation Bible schools, man, they do teach a lot.
It was in a Assemblies of God church here in the city. I think it was Grace Assembly. Over on the southwest side. I've been by it a couple of times. I'm my old youth pastor. Wound up being a youth pastor there.
Yeah.
And I went and visited him when I was a teenager. Adult. I was 19.
Yeah.
Visiting him there and realized, oh my goodness, this is the church I went to as daycare center when I was in 1st or 2nd grade.
Wow.
And walked back through the gym and everything. I'm like, it's all smaller.
It does seem that way once you go back to places like that.
Yeah,
it really
does.
does.
It does. It's
I
crazy.
mean, we realize we're bigger, but still, you know.
You don't realize your own size made that much difference.
Yeah,
But
that's
it does,
true.
yeah.
It really does. That's true. I went back to places and it seemed smaller. Yeah. Can you share your miracle with us today?
Okay. Yeah, it was pretty awesome. Okay, like Tracy said, we had a house fire the morning, 4:30 in the morning on March 28th, and it was pretty much a miracle we got out of there, because just one miracle after another. But the main one is at the end, after we're out of the house. But
because your dogs woke you up, right?
Our dog Pongo, who is this big,
Yeah, he's a cutie.
busted out of his cage because he was in a plastic crate for night, and he busted through. The boys said it was split in half. I don't know if I believe that because I didn't see it.
Wow.
But the boys said it was split in half, and he was running. I woke up to him running from one end of the house to the other, barking. And Greg had gotten up, and when there was an orange glow in the window, and he pulled the curtain back, and house is on fire, get out. And at the same time thinking, Pongo jumps up on my bed, and I'm going, why are you out of your crate?
Oh yeah, because you're still in that stupor of being asleep.
I had these things all going through my head at the same time, and I grabbed my stick and nothing else, and headed out the door. Pongo leading the way. Gabe and Alex.
Your stick is your cane.
Yeah, that dumb stick. And Gabe and Alex coming out of their bed. What's going on? The house is on fire. Get out. And we went out and out the back, and Pongo and Luke are both following us, and I thought Greg was behind me. And we get easily out the door, and didn't struggle walking, nothing. And we get out the door, and I'm like, I'm barefoot. I don't care. And I just kept, my feet aren't hurting on the rocks or anything, but it was, Greg said it was like I floated out of the place.
Oh, yeah, because she has a difficult time sometimes with
walking.
Yeah.
Especially on uneven, going up and down stairs, turning corners, anything that's uneven, I struggle a little bit.
Yeah.
And we got out there, and Alex is struggling with the back gate because it wouldn't come open. I'm like, crap, we're going to be stuck in the backyard, and flames are coming up the front now because it started right there in front of our window, and it had consumed the porch. Apparently Greg had gone back into the house.
Oh no.
Well, turned around and gone back into the house to, what did he grab? His phone and his glasses. Was his phone and his glasses? His phone and something. And because he needed to call 911, but he came out fast enough behind me that I didn't notice he was gone. And I tried to send Gabe along the end of the fence to go try the other gate, so we just go out that way. And the flames were already hot enough around the front of the house that Gabe said, I can't, it's too hot, it's too hot.
Yeah.
I said, come back. And about that time, Alex managed to get the fence open. And so we went on out. Ian and Emmy, who were in the driveway in a motorhome, I saw Ian dart out and head toward the front of the house, and I hollered at him. We're already out. Greg had come up behind me, and was saying something about call 911, my phone's not working. And so Ian stopped before he got, because we got his attention before he got to the fence and the gate, and he hollered back to Emmy to call 911. That I guess he had snatched his phone and had already tried and it wasn't working. And Emmy managed to get, I think it was Emmy managed to get hold, maybe her phone wasn't working, and one of them managed to get through to 911. And somehow I'm hearing Ian's voice, so maybe it was him that got through and was talking to 911 and telling them. I can't remember for sure. Anyway, we managed to get out the fence, and that area of the fence was all stickery. And I'm like, wow, none of this is hurting my feet. I'm wow, this is crazy. And as I'm going,
you were in shock for sure.
And we managed to get over to the camper, and we got pulled in, and Emmy got us blankets and things, trying to stay warm, and found a shirt for Greg and something to throw on the boys because they didn't have on anything except their underwear.
Yeah.
And so we were sitting there in the camper with the door open, trying to keep the dogs calmed down and away from trying to chase the fire, and so we had to crate them to get them some kind of quiet, and or at least Dobby and the cat. I don't remember what we did with Luke and Pongo, but anyway, we were sitting there with the door open watching the house just kind of, in 10 minutes the house was gone.
Oh my God.
And at that point, if you remember the weather, we were still having really high winds.
Yes.
And because that following Friday was when the Lincoln County fires started happening, and the high winds were going on.
Right.
We still had really high winds, and the winds were blowing out of the northwest, basically toward the driveway where we were.
Yeah.
But it was it hit within 10 minutes. It had consumed the house, and I knew, being in the country, I already knew we were probably going to lose everything in the house, because the fire department, there's no hydrants. It's volunteer. They're not going to get out there at any kind of time.
Yeah.
So I kept thinking, well, just don't. At least it's not coming over here toward where we are or anything. And the wind started blowing from the northwest, which was blowing it toward us.
Oh man.
And then I remember when the whole thing was consumed or engulfed in the fire, and the end of the house was there was about 10 feet from the end of the house to the fence, and about maybe 5 more feet-ish from there to the propane tank.
Oh wow.
And the cars and the driveway and the garage and everything. I thought, if those sparks blow, I started thinking, if the sparks blow this way, they're gonna catch that garage on fire.
Yeah.
And then if it catches the garage, then it's gonna spread really fast there. But then it's gonna spread around the circle. It's gonna go garage, container, school building, us, cars. It's just gonna kind of circle, it's gonna get all of us.
Yeah.
And that propane tank, I started thinking, propane, if that explodes, how far away do we need to get?
I don't know, with LP gas, I don't know, maybe someone can leave it in the comments of how dangerous that is.
Would we be able to get far enough away to be safe? I kept imagining us going out into the road. Well, that wouldn't have been safe because our road was kind of a hill, and anybody come over the hill, whack.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't see us in time. But we had neighbors that were maybe 50 yards.
Yeah.
It wasn't a football field, so I don't think it was 100. 50 yards to the east of us, and would they be safe? If the propane tank explodes, would they even be safe? And all of this is rolling through my mind. I'm like, that can't get to that propane tank. We don't have anywhere to go.
Right.
And then I thought, we don't have keys to start cars. We can't get out of here. We can't move this camper. The Maxwells are going to lose their camper. Ian and Emmy will lose everything. That's got to stop.
Yeah.
So I started praying.
And that's the thing, guys. When they had their fire, leaving the keys inside. And one of the advices you wanted to give them out of this is put a set of keys in a firebox.
Yep.
So that you have it after the fire. You can still motivate and leave the property with your vehicle.
Yeah. That was one we shared that with the driver's license lady too. She said, I never thought of that.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, put you an extra set of keys in your firebox because the firebox survived.
Yeah.
But
yeah, another thing I noticed with that firebox was your important papers.
Yeah.
If they were in an envelope, they weren't smoky at all.
yeah, no, some of the things were smoky smelling, but they weren't smoke stained. They weren't ruined.
Right. And so
they
put
didn't
whatever
stink.
in an envelope inside there, and then
In
you
your
should be able to
firebox.
see the print and everything.
Yeah, everything was still okay. It just smelled bad. But at least that box survived. There were so many other important papers that I had, like in a briefcase or whatever, and none of that stuff survived.
Wow.
None of it survived. So
Firebox
well,
is going to work.
Firebox is going to work. But I started praying, and I'm like, God, please do something. Stop. Put a wall there. Put angels there. Put something there to stop those flames right there at that part of that end, at the end of the house. Don't let them come any further. Don't let them come any further, any closer, because we don't have anywhere to go. We can't move. The Maxwells are going to lose their house. Ian and Emmy will lose everything. We'll lose the rest of what we've got, which is not, anything. That's just stuff, but it's the rest of what we've got.
Yeah.
And we'll lose our cars. I don't even know where we go. We might lose our lives. And please just put a wall or angels or something right there at the end of the house. Don't let the fire go any further than that. And I just kept praying that, and I kept watching, and it didn't go any further. It burned up everything in the front yard. It burned a circle in the front yard. It burned up my porch swing that was in the front yard. It burned up our picnic tables in the front yard. One of those survived, and it was the one that was the furthest away.
Wow, that's a good shootout of flames, because that wasn't right against your house at
No, they
all.
weren't. They were against the front fence, right next to each other, and the closest one completely burned up. The other one is still there. It's obviously not usable. And my porch swing that Greg had bought me for an anniversary gift several years ago, one A-frame set of legs survived.
Wow.
And that's it of it.
Oh.
But it burned a big circle across the front yard, and but the flames all seemed to be staying right there at the end of the house.
Praise the Lord.
And it took about an hour for the fire department to get there, and they started putting things out. And somehow Greg and Ian wound up around the other side of the house where the fire started, and I had a cedar chest in the bedroom that I was telling you about that had blankets and things in it that were kind of special to me. And Greg came back and told me that cedar chest was still there.
Yeah.
And that, I might be able to get the blankets out of it, then that they might have survived.
Right.
And by the time the firemen finished and everything, he went back over there, and it was all gone.
Oh.
It had caught fire again, and it was all disintegrated and gone.
Yeah.
So, well, I guess it's just stuff. But anyway, the flames didn't come any further than the end of that house.
Wow.
And I'm like, at the end of the day, I realized it didn't. And some people had taken, I think you had, I think those pictures, you had sent me a picture. You had taken a picture, and I'm like, I don't think the ground was scorched at the end of the house at all.
No.
And it took about 10 days or so before I got the heart up to go back out there and look.
Yeah.
And I kept telling a few people about what had happened, and that I think God had done a miracle there.
Yeah.
But I wanted to verify and be sure first.
Yeah.
So I did, and about 10 days later, like I said, we went back out there. I went back out there with Greg, and got a picture of the end of the house where the fire was, at the end of the house, obviously, is what I just said.
We're going to try and show this to you this
Try
way.
to show the picture here.
And she'll
See
point
if I can do
to
it.
where the,
If I can do it backwards.
yeah.
This right here is the fence that run along the front of the house toward the driveway. The front yard is in the back here. This is the backyard. This is the end of the house. And if you can see if I can do this without messing anything up. No, I guess I can't. Let me see. I can't move it because I zoomed in. You can see the scorch pattern of the front yard, how it circles around, how I said it kind of consumed everything in the front yard, and the scorch of the ground, and the scorch stops at that fence.
Ain't that amazing?
And I can't move it over. This is the end of the house, and you see gray down here? That's all ash because this brick wall here should have been the same size as this brick wall in the front. And it disintegrated all that brick as well as the wall and all of that. And that's what that is that ash from all of that. Because if you look out here at the ground, it's dirt because we had sheep and they ate all the grass.
Yeah.
Down to nothing. But it's brown, like dirt's supposed to be, not black and gray like this is out here where it's scorched. So you can, to me, this showed the miracle that God put what I asked for, either a wall or angels or something to halt that flame from going any further than just consuming what it had already consumed.
Yeah.
And that was the evidence I wanted to have before I started telling people God did something that
it's nice to have.
Could have been, well, that was just your imagination. You just think that's what happened. So, and I feel like this is evidence of God having done exactly what I asked him to do to protect us. Well, you can just see where the
angel stood, I mean, the line across there was blocked. If totally that's how God chose to do it with angels.
Yeah. So, I feel like God has done miracles in my life before, but not really anything that I could, this is a miracle without somebody going, nah, not really. That's just the way it turned out. Make an excuse for it or whatever. And I suppose doubters could go, nah, that's just the way it happened. It's like, but no, for me, this is absolute proof that God did what I asked him to do that morning out of concern for my son and my daughter-in-law and the Maxwells and us, because we'd already lost everything. Nina's said it a couple of times too, his mom, that could have turned out so differently.
Oh, it sure could have.
So, and it didn't. God's not done. Whatever he's got for us to do, it's not done.
Yeah.
And to me, that shows that.
Yeah, it sure does. That's beautiful, and I love it that you're still around, and you can.
Thank you. I kind of like it too.
Yeah, we all like that, don't we? I was in shock when Michael got the message. He's like, hey, my morning's going good. How's your day going? And he couldn't believe he read, well, my house just burnt down this morning. He's like, you're not gonna believe this. Greg texted me and said their house is on fire. I'm like, all right, we got to get in the vehicle. We got to go. And then they made a plan together about how to try and recover some electric or some water. Because we were thinking Ian and Emmy would still be there taking care of the cattle. And
no, they were gone that night.
Yeah.
They were gone that night. Well, we were too. I mean.
Well, you didn't have a place to lay your head.
Get in the car. Let's go.
Yeah.
I had no idea. And up until just the last few days, I'm like, I don't know. What are we doing today?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing tomorrow. I can't plan. And it's been what, almost 8 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm just now starting to figure out, okay, next week let's do this, or Friday let's do this, and be able to go, okay, that's a plan.
Yeah.
Because up till now I haven't been able to. It's like I couldn't think past just this moment, just this day. Let's just get through today.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
It's shocking.
Right, you were in shock, and for a long time, I think. And then you're also going to go through a mourning process of your old life and what that was.
Yeah. And
what your new life is now, and getting grounded again in familiarity of where you're laying your head and where you're going to be at the next morning. And all those things that we take for granted so much. you know.
Yeah.
But I think I heard once, if you want to make God laugh, tell him you have
Telling your
plans.
plans.
So I wonder if he's trying to teach us something there. I
Yeah.
don't know. You
Well,
know.
Greg said, because we had planned on selling the place and moving, because a few months ago, Ian and Emmy said they didn't want it. They didn't want to live there.
Yeah.
And which broke my heart, because that was the reason we bought the place, was to give to Emmy, or to give to Ian
Yeah.
and Emmy when he married her. And I'm like, I don't know what to do, because I don't want to live here if the kids aren't going to be around. They're all too far away. And Greg, the sweetheart that he is, came to me the next day and said, I don't care anything about land. I just want you to be happy. And he said, whatever you want to do, we'll do.
Oh.
And I said, I want to be with my kids.
Yeah.
And he said, okay, and put the place up for sale.
Yeah.
And no buyers, not anything real. But that was right after we came back from Sukkot last year. And Greg made the joke. He said, well, I guess I wasn't moving fast enough, so God lit a fire underneath.
Oh, lit a fire, wow.
Because we had found land with Ian and Emmy. We found land out there and purchased it and everything, but we were just kind of stalled out with winter and all that. We just kind of stalled out. And didn't seem like anything was really happening or moving. We had some plans as to steps we were going to take and stuff, but I mean, if you don't kind of make a joke out of something, you wind up crying and depressed all the time. You got to try and find the light and God in everything that happens to you, no matter what it is, good or bad.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
yeah, I agree.
That's what he was doing. Is I just God lit a fire under me, get me moving. So now we're permanently succumbing.
Yeah. I used to tell a joke that when my neighbor's place caught on fire and I called the fire department and they asked, how do we get there? How do we get there? And I said, duh, big red truck.
Yeah.
So
follow the bright lights.
Yeah. Look for the flame, the smoke, whatever. Smoke signals.
So,
yeah.
That's what you got to do. You just have to find the light. And you have to find God in whatever's happening to you. Otherwise, I think you just permanently lose it and fall apart. I know I would.
Yeah.
So.
That's just such a devastation, and you've overcome it so well.
But sometimes
you
God
did it with God.
Yeah, and sometimes God gives you little surprises. One of the things I lost in the fire was absolutely irreplaceable, because it was a portrait painted in Japan in the early 1960s. I was probably a baby still, so 1963, 1964, that my grandparents had taken when my grandpa was stationed in Japan. They took photographs, one of my dad, one of my mother, and one of me. And I was 3 months old in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
My mother was probably 18, maybe right after she had me. And my dad was 21-ish. He still looked really young. But the artist took those pictures and painted a family portrait, painted on silk. It was painted on silk. And I had to have it reframed several years ago because the frame had finally fallen apart.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had taken care of it for years with no frame, and I finally put a new frame on it about 10 or so years ago. And it was sitting there in the bedroom, and I didn't even think to grab my glasses or my telephone.
Right.
I wasn't thinking to grab pictures or clothing or anything else when I went out.
Yeah.
And it was sitting right there, and it was, the bedroom was one of the first things consumed, along with the front porch.
Yeah.
And it obviously was burned up.
Yeah.
Well, when I got my phone back and my Google account and my Google Photos and everything, here just last week, I was scrolling through my pictures because it backed up. My phone had just finished backing up at 3:51 a.m. The fire started at 4:30 a.m.
Wow.
And I was scrolling through those pictures, and an image of that portrait popped up, and I'm like, wow.
So you do
I
have
still
that.
I have that at least.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't have the original item, but I have that at least.
Yeah. Oh.
And then the other thing I lost that breaks my heart is that Greg had bought me a Katuba for my birthday a few years ago.
Yeah.
And that was sitting there too, so I lost that as well.
Yeah.
But I know him.
Oh yeah.
He probably
Yeah, he
will.
loves you.
So, but that one was still the one he gave me. So.
Yeah.
But sometimes God surprises you with little things.
Yeah.
Return to you in some fashion. Otherwise, it's just stuff.
Yeah.
It's just stuff.
Yeah, and the important thing was you guys getting out. Yeah. And your pets too. And
most of them.
Yeah.
Actually, another surprise. I'm sorry. Another surprise happened when we went out there on Monday. We had an inside cat. Her name was Ahsoka, and we'd had her since she was a little bitty kitten. She was a black and orange and white calico.
Oh, very pretty.
She was pretty. But she was a cat. I love you when I love you. Leave me alone the rest of the time.
That's so true.
We didn't know where she was in the house. We had no idea where she was in the house.
Right.
And we lost 3 baby lambs, and then we think all of the outside cats except the one that we have with us now that we found that she was still there. But we lost her, we thought. And when we went to Minko last Monday, there was a black and orange and white calico cat in the middle of the road in front of us.
Wow.
And she ran off into the woods before we got close enough to even think about stopping the car.
Now, was that closer to your property?
Close to the house.
Yeah.
Yes. It was about a half a mile from the house.
Yeah.
And she was sitting in the middle of the road, and she heard us coming, and she darted into this cat darted into the woods. Well, we lived there for 7 years.
Yeah.
There were no other calicos in that neighborhood anywhere near that area.
Yeah.
We knew all the cats in that area.
Yeah.
Because most of them were fathers to the kittens.
Right.
But there were no calicos.
Yeah.
And that cat was in the middle of the road, and we're like, we all Gabe, Alex, and me all hollered at the same time. Is that Ahsoka?
Yeah.
And about that time is when it ran out into the woods.
Oh.
And it's like, crud.
Wonder if you could take some time one evening and put like a can of tuna out.
And see
something
if we
she
could
could
get
smell.
it to come back. And I can't see where it wasn't Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because like I said, there were no other calicos in that neighborhood.
Yeah.
And the colors were the same.
Wow.
And I'm like, could she have gotten out?
Yeah.
And survived?
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness.
She could have ran out from around
From the
your
back
feet
the same way we went out.
Yeah.
Because Greg may not have left slammed that door shut when he came out that back door.
Right.
So that may be the last time we went out there, we thought we saw another one that might have been ours, but it was a orangish color, which is common. Without being really close to it, we wouldn't know for sure.
Yeah.
But that color calico like that, I am positive it was Ahsoka.
Yeah.
So
I hope you get them back too.
It'd be nice if
Yeah.
we get her back too.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Well, thank you for coming and sharing all this. You know, we've learned a lot about your situation and about how God works. And wow, what a mighty God we have.
He takes care of us. Even when we think we're by ourselves and he's silent, he's still there. He hasn't left us.
Right. Yeah. And he promises that in his word, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
You have to hang on to that no matter what.
Exactly.
No matter
That's true. Yeah. Well, guys, in the meantime, enjoy God's journey. Let me get this camera remote working.